This is Michael Popok, LegalAF. A couple of days ago, we were talking about Kevin McCarthy and his decision to turn over 41,000 hours of Capitol Police video surveillance cameras, that most of which had never been seen before, over to Tucker Carlson. And we were all, hair on fire. There he goes again. Why can't we get them and the media access? But that was not the true plan. The true plan has now been revealed today. Kevin McCarthy probably cares less about getting 41,000 hours reviewed in some basement by Tucker Carlson. And what he really wants to do is stick it to the Department of Justice and throw over the apple cart of the 900 or so prosecutions, including the future one of Donald Trump, by injecting now, quote unquote, new exculpatory evidence that in the view of the Jan 6 defendants, they should have had as part of their ability to defend themselves. We've already had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of convictions and sentencing related to Jan 6. What does this new disclosure that 41,000 hours of video, or at least 26,000 hours of new video is now out there? Every defendant, both on trial right now, including the Proud Boys, and every defendant that already found himself convicted, is going to make a motion for new trial and argue that they should have the right to go through these 24,000 video clips to scour for evidence they may tend to prove their innocence. In the business that I'm in, trial law, we call it Brady material, BRDY. It refers to a case, the U.S. Supreme Court, and it basically says that all exculpatory evidence tending to prove someone's innocence, needs to be turned over by the government if it's in their hands, raising an interesting question as to whether the security footage camera held by the U.S. government and Congress, another branch of government, although here the client of the Department of Justice, because they're representing the United States of America, is that Brady material. We talked about this on a podcast that I co-anchor on Wednesdays and Saturdays called LegalAF, with the question, is this Brady material? Well, anybody raise the issue of the video surveillance material not turned over to them being Brady material that, if it wasn't turned over to them, could lead to reversible error and reverse their convictions? Well, we have it now. Once McCarthy sent the world a notice that he was going to release the 41,000 hours of footage to Tucker Carlson, every one of the currently on trial Jan 6 defendants has woken up, and at least a handful of them in the Proud Boys trial have filed a motion for continuance. Trial's going on right now. It's already 2 weeks in. Asking for filing a motion for continuance with Judge Mehta, asking for a timeout in the trial while they go off and review the 24,000 or so, 26,000 or so hours of video footage they haven't seen before, to look for exculpatory evidence that could help their case. And that's now been filed yesterday on the heels of Kevin McCarthy making the decision. So I'm going to go out on a limb here. Kevin McCarthy could care less about Tucker Carlson. What he really wanted to do was to create an entire Brady material reversible error issue that the Department of Justice now has to scramble to fix in front of all of its judges. There's going to be hearings going on now from now until the summer about whether the material that had been held back, the difference between the approximately 14,000 hours that the Jan 6 defendants did get, self-selected by the Department of Justice and the Capitol Police, whether the new 26,000 or 27,000 hours was Brady material. Because if it is, and it wasn't turned over, and they didn't have it at the time for their trial, these defendants, they may have grounds to reverse their convictions. So, of course, Congress, now led by the GOP, at least the House, and McCarthy, this was their plot all along. How do I know it? Because we got a tell today, like a poker tell. We got Representative Loudermilk from Georgia, who's the chairman of the one of the committees on administration, saying, well, this is America, and everybody should have all of the evidence that's required to either prosecute them or to prove their innocence. He's basically declaring that as far as Congress, led by the GOP, is concerned, All of the footage that wasn't disclosed to the Jan 6 defendants, a year ago, 2 years ago, is Brady material. Every one of these lawyers is now going to cite Loudermilk in their filings to say, look, even the client, even Congress, the ones that were under attack think that this was Brady material that I should have gotten from my client, and therefore stop this trial. Proud Boys going on simultaneously. Stop all the trials that are going on of the other Jan 6 defendants all around District of Columbia. And the ones that already got convicted, either because they pled guilty, which makes it a little bit more difficult, because they had a stipulated trial on facts or a real trial with a jury, all of them are now talking to their lawyers, and their lawyers are considering whether to file motions for new trial and to vacate the sentence and vacate the conviction because of this, is it Brady material or is it not issue that's now been injected into the case. I am not creating a doomsday scenario. It is going on right now in real time at the end of February. We just got the filing yesterday on behalf of Ryan Nichols, who's on trial right now in the Proud Boys case. His lawyer filed the motion to continue trial. Now, if you read through it, and we're going to post it here, if you read through it, you're going to see all sorts of things like, oh, the Capitol Police were mean to all the protesters. The Capitol Police were out of control. The Capitol Police were the ones that caused this problem. The Capitol Police used rubber bullets and bullet cannons and sonic weapons and all sorts of things against primarily peaceful protesters. Remember, every one of these Proud Boys, every one of these Oath Keepers, every one of these violent insurrectionists, there's video, social media clips, audio that demonstrates that they were not just on a tour of the Capitol that went a little bit awry, right? Just the accidental tourists who became instant insurrectionists. But, the defense lawyers are going to try every trick in the book to try to put more context, more confusion, inject more doubt into the jury who's considering this case. Norm Pattis, who was disbarred until a week ago for his misbehavior and misconduct in representing Alex Jones in the Sandy Hook trial, a loser, a lost trial. Norm Pettis for Joe Biggs, who's on trial in the Proud Boys case. He raised the issue 6 days ago. He said, well, we heard about Tucker Carlson and the 41,000 hours of video. I want to see that. That could be Brady material. So this is where we're going. I hope we wouldn't get there. Ben Meisalas and I on our LegalAF podcast talked about this months ago, 6 months ago. Is this material the Jan 6 committee material? I'm going to talk about that next. The Jan 6 committee material that wasn't given over to the defense. Is that Brady material, technical Brady material that needed to be turned over, or a conviction could be overturned? And it's not just the video footage. Now all the defense lawyers have heard loud and clear that it is open season on the Jan 6 committee over at the GOP-controlled House, and come and get it. It's like a garage sale. You want old records? You want old transcripts? You want old files? You want to go through them? Go ahead. Have at it. See what you can find in there. All the materials that were confidentially and that were soberly reviewed by the Jan 6 committee with a very small, for your eyes only group of aides and lawyers, investigators and prosecutors and members of Congress. Now it's a free-for-all. Everybody. To listen to Speaker McCarthy, the whole world, everyone should see eventually at least the 41,000 hours if they want to. We'll put it on a database like WikiLeaks. Everybody go take a look at it. National security be damned. Issues related to privacy be damned. The video footage, of course, of that, this would naturally include the video footage of the carnage of the beating of Michael Fanone, of the beating of other Capitol Police officers. So that's going to be out there again, and all of the trauma and intentional infliction of emotional distress that'll go along with that for the families, many of whom have already gone through a sentencing process and had these people sentenced, and the victim statements and victim testimony be given. That's where we're at. This isn't just a Pandora's box that's been ripped open, because that sounds accidental. This is not accidental. This was McCarthy and the right-wing MAGA supporters of his and members of Congress. This is what they have wanted all along. Same people that were doing army crawl, belly rolls, to get out of the Capitol because they were going to get hanged, shot, killed, murdered, stabbed, or whatever from an out of control insurrectionist mob, most of which were of their party, are now, of course, beating their chest and saying, this is great for the Jan 6 people, because they think the Jan 6 defendants are being horribly mistreated, that they're being abused in prison, that they're not being treated like, regular defendants who try to overthrow the government in the country. So this has been their plot that they've hatched and they're now implementing. Let's F up the Department of Justice and its ability to both continue to obtain convictions, put doubt in the mind of jurors, put doubt in the mind of judges who are sentencing these future convicts, and open some sort of pathway to overturning the convictions that already happened. So let's unscramble the egg, let's put the toothpaste back in, and let's help the Jan 6 patriots. That's what the MAGA Republicans are doing. That was their plot all along. The smokescreen was the release of the files of Tucker Carlson. That was the wink and nod to the defense counsel and the Jan 6 defendants. Have at it. Ask us for the footage. We're going to give it to you. Ask us if we think it's Brady material. We're going to tell you it is. And if you want it, if you want a new trial, you got nobody in Congress that thinks otherwise. We'll support you in that. That's how, when the GOP gets into office, that's how they try to rewrite history and try to make heroes out of criminals. If you like these hot takes, I do them about once a day on cutting edge issues at the intersection of law and politics. Practicing lawyer and trial lawyer Michael Popok, unlike some people that are out there on YouTube on the far right who don't have a law degree and have never been inside of a courtroom. And you can follow me on all social media at MS Popok. And every Wednesday and Saturday, as I said, I co-anchor the leading political and legal podcast on the MeidasTouch network called LegalAF. Saturdays with Ben Meisalis, Wednesdays with Karen Friedman-Agnifilo, former prosecutor. And I'm Michael Popok reporting.
MeidasTouch is unapologetically pro-democracy. And look, we know you are too. So please make sure you check out our best-selling shirt and our best-selling gear, the unapologetically pro-democracy gear. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you check out my favorite shirt and one of our most famous designs, It Wasn't Rigged, You're Just a Loser, at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.